This is insane as a former Rams quarterback is still talking about his days with the Rams and how he felt when he was traded away from the team. We are also talking about Davante Adams and what he had to say about LeBron James, all on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Press the subscribe button now, as roughly 66% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not pressing that subscribe button. I'm just saying, if you're already watching, might as well press that subscribe button, as it doesn't cost you a thing, and so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. A little bit of a lighthearted episode today, a couple of kind of whatever stories. This first story, though, is kind of just getting a little bit tired of it. Apparently, this guy was blindsided. Apparently, it still is affecting this person. You all know who we're talking about. We are discussing former Rams quarterback Jared Goff, and what he has to say as he gets real about Sean McVay's handling of the Rams-Lions trade. Goff didn't hold back talking about his former coach. This comes to us from Candice Perdaza, but it's actually coming out of a Lions page, channel, whatever you want to say. This is actually coming to us from Side Lion Report. So, you know, interesting to hear from that perspective, of course. You can see the breakdown as I have the wrong screenshot up here. But generally speaking, this is kind of crazy, in my opinion. This is kind of ridiculous. And I understand that maybe certain players are asked certain questions, but the fact that we're still discussing Jared Goff and how he felt about being traded away and how he was blindsided. I know it was for a Netflix series. If you guys haven't seen it, Jared Goff being featured on the Netflix series Quarterback, which is now back, talking about quarterbacks again. And, you know, he had some things to say in his solo kind of interview where he was discussing obviously the trade with the Rams. So this is what he says. This is him getting real, being honest about the whole situation. Jared Goff says, 3 weeks after the last game of the season, I get a call from Sean and really did not expect anything. He lets me know they're trading me to Detroit, and I'm like, whoa, okay, all right. What the hell? What's happening? I would say about 30 seconds after that phone call, it was on Twitter. You wish that it wasn't such a blindside and that there was some sort of maturity, I guess, to have the conversation and to be able to let me know what was going on and how things went down and why this is happening. It was my first real taste of true adversity, and your career is kind of at a fork in the road. That's Jared Goff again discussing his personal feelings about the matter. The really thing that stands out here is that one sentence there where he says, you wish it wasn't such a blindside and that there was some sort of maturity. Now, I know he says, I guess, so he's not really sure if that's the right word, but I don't really think that is the right word. I think it's kind of him throwing a little bit of a jab, right, towards Sean McVay and how the Rams front office handled the trading of him to Detroit. And I can understand why there is some animosity. I can understand it was kind of out of left field. It was kind of an interesting conversation. It was kind of okay, at the time even, like, we love Matthew Stafford now, Hall of Fame quarterback, and I think now I realize at this point in time that, you know, Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer. He's an incredible quarterback and one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But at the time, Detroit Lions Matthew Stafford never winning a championship, never getting to the Super Bowl, never doing those things with a Calvin Johnson, right? There was some question marks on Matthew Stafford at the time of the trade where it's like, are you even getting that much better? And I remember having to defend the Rams making this trade back then and saying, look, if you want the quarterback, you think the quarterback, even if it's just a slight improvement, is worth going after, then you make that deal. And ultimately, obviously, the Rams ended up being correct in their assumption that Matthew Stafford, or assertion, I should say, that Matthew Stafford was a better quarterback than Jared Goff. But ultimately, for Jared Goff to still be discussing, and I understand it really hurt him, and it was a big part of his career, but ultimately, I think he should flip it on its head, and he has done this in the past, which is why it's kind of frustrating to hear him still kind of talking about, I wish there was some maturity there, because ultimately, you be mature, you grow up, you know what I mean? The Rams handled it as in a business matter, and sure, you want them to have a human-to-human, heart-to-heart conversation saying, hey, we're thinking about trading you, but it's a hard conversation to have, and ultimately, they let you know, hey, we're moving on, moving in a different direction. Ultimately, that trade was saying, Jared Goff, this guy is better than you, and we're going to trade a lot to get him to prove that he's better than you. And guess what? The next year, he did prove that he's better than you because we won a Super Bowl. So if you're Jared Goff, I think you got to stop discussing it. You got to move on from it. He has done this in the past, which is why I get confused when it gets brought up in this way, that he's still bringing it up, because he said, hey, look, the Lions wanting him, showing the world, showing the NFL, showing him and his family that he is wanted somewhere. And then they had a terrible season in the beginning. Everyone thought maybe Jared Goff was just a placeholder kind of bridge quarterback. And what happened? He ended up being the future franchise quarterback for a new rebuilt, very good, competitive, potential Super Bowl contending team in the Detroit Lions. And so look at it as a positive. Hey, you know what? That was over 5 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever it is. Let's move on from that. I'm happy here in Detroit. I'm so ecstatic the Rams traded me because I'm happy to be here. But to discuss the maturity of how it was handled, to really honestly throw some shade towards the Rams, the organization, towards Sean McVay, it just kind of seems a little bit weird, even if it is for this big Netflix series and want to hear the drama about it, whatever it is. Just move on from it. Decline to even discuss it. That's what I would do if I'm Jared Goff, because ultimately, hey, I'm happy where I'm at. Let's talk about where I'm at now. That's how I feel. Let me know how you guys feel about Jared Goff still talking about the situation all these years later. Moving on from that, it's a little more lighthearted as well here. Talking about SoCal love, LA. These two teams showing some love to one another as we were discussing what Davante Adams had to say about LeBron James. And what if LeBron James was an NBA player and actually never went to the NFL? I'm sorry. What if LeBron James was an NFL player and never went to the NBA? Apologize for mixing those up. Rams, Davante Adams says LeBron James would have been one of the best wide receivers in NFL history. Adams says there is no question James would be on the best. So, obviously a very intriguing conversation to have. LeBron James, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, arguably, right, basketball player in NBA history. I get it. There's Jordan guys out there. I'm kind of a Jordan guy myself, but ultimately, put preference aside, looking at the raw data, looking at the raw numbers, statistically speaking, let's not argue here, LeBron James is the greatest player in NBA history. And so a guy that athletic, that strong, fast, just health, longevity of how healthy he's been in his career, like ultimately all of that would attribute to him being an also good NFL player if he decided to go that route. Davante Adams kind of acknowledged some things about the flopping in this interview with Dan Patrick from the Dan Patrick Show, but ultimately, he did say, look, the flopping doesn't look great when you're talking about on the football field, so hopefully LeBron wouldn't have done that if he became a football player. But here's what Davante Adams had to say about LeBron. He said, he would have been one of the best receivers, tight ends of all time. So whatever he wanted to be, receiver, tight end. He's also 6'8", so probably tight end for LeBron, right? No question, he can fly too. That's the thing. He's one of the fastest NBA players, probably, of all time. I've never seen somebody cover space on a basketball court. Maybe John Wall, Derrick Rose, somebody like that, but he's up there with all of them. So he's basically saying, hey, look, LeBron's really fast. If he was a receiver, he'd be very fast on the football field as well. Therefore, he'd probably be one of the best receivers of all time. You go back, you look at LeBron James' stats when he was in high school as a football player, blows it out the water, looks like an incredible football prospect, and ended up being, obviously, like we said, one of the best, if not the greatest, basketball players of all time. And so, fun kind of story to think about and imagine. What would LeBron look like on the football field? We talk about guys like, I think Draymond Green also played football as well, a little more physical of a guy for sure, but ultimately, who knows what it would look like if a guy like that would be on the football field. Again, we forget, LeBron's 6'8", 280 pounds in the prime of his career. He was jumping over people. I think LeBron, it's pretty easy to say, if he was a tight end or some type of receiver, he would pretty easily be one of the greatest of all time. But you let me know how you guys feel about it. I get it. LeBron, the flopping, maybe looks a little soft and stuff. Maybe some people think he wouldn't survive on the football field. Different sport completely, ultimately. So let me know how you guys feel. Would LeBron be one of the best receivers of all time? What do you guys think? And if you guys don't think it's LeBron, then who would be a basketball player or a player of another sport that you think could kind of make it work on the football field? Throw a name out there. Let's see some interesting names down in the comment section down below. Moving on from that, last but not least, trivia of the day. My favorite part of the episode where I ask a trivia question. You give your trivia guesses down below in the comment section. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, we give you a shout out on the next episode that I'm on here at the Rams Digest. Last episode's trivia of the day, if you missed it, was this question that we posed here. Kind of a fun one. Which player has the most receiving yards in a single season in NFL history? We had a couple guesses down for sure, a couple multiple choice options we'll shout out right now in just a second. But I did want to acknowledge, this is one of those statistical questions that you can kind of just Google I do always ask that you guys don't cheat and Google it. But it was funny. A few episodes ago, we had someone in the comments saying, "What's the point of trivia if you could just Google it?" You can literally Google literally every any trivia question you'd like. The point of it is to have fun and have some fun in the comment section. So if you want to have fun in the comment section, play trivia of the day, and you missed this episode's trivia, we'll obviously talk about it in a couple minutes of today's trivia of the day. But those of you who played along last episode's trivia of the day, these were your guesses here. And real quick, multiple choice for that question was A, Jerry Rice, B, Calvin Johnson, C, Antonio Brown, or D, Cooper Kupp. The question was, who is the only... sorry, I'm almost going to read the wrong question. Let's see here. Oh, I can't even pull it back up. Okay, which player has the most receiving yards in a single season in NFL history? You guys played along, guessed at home. I had Floyd saying Jerry Rice. We had Blake saying, in case this is a trick question, I'm going to say it's actually Cooper Kupp, because I think counting regular season and playoffs, it is Cooper Kupp. It is him. Otherwise, it's probably Jerry Rice or Cooper Kupp probably, but you're thinking Jerry Rice. Blake, I see you always guessing, not you, but a couple of you guys been guessing multiple guesses here, so I see you guys trying to do what you can. Thomas saying Megatron. The real Jay Wills has got to be Megatron. Tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row, question mark. We'll see in a second. The real Jay Will, he's been on a little streak here, trying to break a cold streak he had for a while. And Juan says, what up, Josh? Keep up the great work. Ignore the haters. Appreciate you, Juan. Appreciate the content during the offseason. Definitely appreciate you, Juan. I know it's kind of tough out here to create content every single day about the Rams when, hey, they're not even in the season right now, right? On the trivia question, I'm going to say Megatron. So we had the real Jay Will say Megatron, Juan, and Thomas. They all said Megatron, and they were all correct, as my questions all over the place here. Yes, the correct answer for the trivia today was Megatron, Calvin Johnson. Again, which player had the most yards in a single season? Number one answer was Calvin Johnson. He had 1,964 yards in 2012. It's still the record in the NFL. By the way, shout out to Matthew Stafford, the Rams quarterback right now, throwing him the football. Note here, a little bit of a fun fact, I guess you can say. Cooper Kupp, who some of you guys were guessing, thinking that could possibly be him, had actually 1,947 yards in 2021. So a little bit kind of might have made you guys think a little bit, because Cooper Kupp was only 19 yards away from tying Megatron's record back in 2012. So pretty great season for Cooper Kupp back in 2021. Obviously great season back in 2012 for Calvin Johnson. And what do they have in common? They had the same quarterback throwing them the football. Pretty awesome and pretty nice to see that's what Matthew Stafford can do for you as a quarterback. Appreciate you guys all for playing along with the trivia of the day. Again, whether you got it right or whether you got it wrong, I don't care. You still get a shout out regardless. Shout out to Thomas, the real J. Will, and Juan for guessing Calvin Johnson, a.k.a. Megatron. If you want to play along with today's trivia of the day, get a shout out just like these folks in the next episode I'm on here at the Rams Digest. Play along with today's trivia question, which is this question here. What quarterback holds the record for most career rushing yards? I wanted to throw this one out there because I think it is an interesting one here. We're talking about rushing yards for a quarterback. And so which one of these speedy quarterbacks holds the record for most career rushing yards? The multiple choice options for you guys on this trivia of the day is A, Cam Newton, B, Randall Cunningham, C, Michael Vick, or D, Lamar Jackson. What quarterback holds the record for most career rushing yards? Is it A, Cam Newton, B, Randall Cunningham, C, Michael Vick, or D, Lamar Jackson? Give your guesses down below in the comment section. Again, whether you get it right or whether you get it wrong, we give you a shout out on the next episode. As you guys hear my dog shaking her collar over here. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. Hope you all play along with trivia of the day. Hope you guys are subscribed to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Other than that, that's going to do it for me. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I am out.